Welcome to PEBA's COBRA presentation. This presentation gives benefits administrators important information about COBRA. It also covers how to administer PEBA's COBRA continuation coverage. We will begin by defining COBRA continuation of coverage. This presentation is an overview. It is not meant to be a comprehensive description of the benefits offered by the South Carolina Public Employee Benefit Authority. The plan of benefits documents, certificates of coverages, and benefits contracts contain complete descriptions of the benefits offered by or through PEBA. Their terms and conditions govern these benefits. For more information on each benefit, see the Benefits Administrator Manual, as well as the Member-Facing Insurance Benefits Guide. COBRA stands for the Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. It addresses covered employees and their dependents, who are known as qualified beneficiaries. The Act protects qualified beneficiaries from losing health coverage due to certain qualifying events. This includes group health, dental, vision, and/or medical spending account coverage. It's important to note that all employers who participate in PEBA's insurance benefits are subject to COBRA rules. There is no exception based on number of employees. As the benefits administrator, you have several obligations related to COBRA. You must inform eligible subscribers and their dependents of their COBRA rights and responsibilities. In some cases, an employee might be found never to have been eligible for coverage while employed. If so, neither the employee nor their dependents are eligible for COBRA. You must offer COBRA coverage to all qualified beneficiaries. It's important, too, that you document your actions in the employee's file and retain complete copies of all notices. Here's a list of several COBRA-related documents you will need. They can be found at peba.sc.gov/forms. COBRA premiums are also available online. Be sure to review the instruction sheets carefully, as they include detailed and important information about the notification letters. Now, we will review qualified beneficiaries. This presentation is an overview. It is not meant to be a comprehensive description of the benefits offered by the South Carolina Public Employee Benefit Authority. The plan of benefits documents, certificates of coverages, and benefits contracts contain complete descriptions of the benefits offered by or through PEBA. Their terms and conditions govern these benefits. For more information on each benefit, see the Benefits Administrator Manual, as well as the Member-Facing Insurance Benefits Guide. A qualified beneficiary is an individual who is covered by a group health plan on the day before a qualified event occurred, causing the loss of coverage. This includes health, dental, vision, and/or medical spending account coverage. Each qualified beneficiary has independent rights to choose COBRA. This means when multiple individuals, such as the employee, spouse, and dependent children, lose coverage due to the same qualifying event, each can choose different coverages. Qualified beneficiaries include active and retired employees, as well as covered spouses and dependent children of active and retired employees. Other qualified beneficiaries include newborns, or children placed for adoption with the former employee or retiree. COBRA subscribers must add these children to COBRA coverage within 31 days of birth or adoption. Not all insurance subscribers are eligible to receive COBRA coverage. These subscribers would be considered non-qualified beneficiaries. Dependents who enroll in COBRA during open enrollment or because of a special eligibility situation are not qualified. Newborns or adopted children are not qualified in cases where the person on COBRA is not the former employee or retiree. Also, non-resident aliens with no source of income in the United States are not qualified beneficiaries. And eligible former spouses who elect former spouse coverage waive their 36-month COBRA continuation rights. Let's look at an example. An employee is single and leaves employment May 31, 2026. And is a qualified beneficiary. They choose COBRA coverage for themselves. On November 1, 2026, they get married. Within 31 days of the marriage, they add their spouse to their COBRA coverage. The new spouse is not a qualified beneficiary, because they were not covered at the time of the employee's termination. The former employee dies on December 12, 2026. Because the spouse is not a qualified beneficiary, their coverage ends December 12, 2026. Let's look at the required initial COBRA notice. This presentation is an overview. It is not meant to be a comprehensive description of the benefits offered by the South Carolina Public Employee Benefit Authority. The plan of benefits documents, certificates of coverages, and benefits contracts contain complete descriptions of the benefits offered by or through PEBA. Their terms and conditions govern these benefits. For more information on each benefit, see the Benefits Administrator Manual, as well as the Member-Facing Insurance Benefits Guide. As the Benefits Administrator, you are responsible for sending the initial COBRA notice. This notice summarizes the COBRA law and procedures. It also outlines the obligations of the employer and explains the COBRA rights and responsibilities of employees and their covered dependents. The initial COBRA notice must be sent when an employee or their dependents gain any COBRA-eligible coverage. This includes newly hired employees who enroll in health, dental, vision, and/or a medical spending account. This also includes when an employee adds a spouse or child to coverage due to a special eligibility situation if the dependent isn't already covered by another COBRA-eligible benefit. Additionally, you must send the initial notice when an employee or their dependents enrolls in one of these benefits for the first time and is not already covered by another COBRA-eligible benefit during open enrollment. Address the initial notice to each covered employee and dependents and send it via U.S. mail. Each covered person does not receive individual notices. One notice to the home will satisfy the requirement. If a spouse and children have coverage, notification to the spouse is considered notification to the children. If the employee and their covered dependents live at separate addresses, a notice must be mailed to each address. The notice must be received by the covered employee and spouse within 90 days of the effective date of insurance coverage. You do not need proof of receipt but should retain a copy in the employee's personnel file. Initial COBRA notices can also be hand-delivered to the employee only. If you hand-deliver the initial notice to the employee must sign a receipt of delivery, which you should keep in the employee's file. Hand delivery to the employee is not considered notification to the covered spouse, or dependent child or children. When it comes to national medical support notices, according to federal law, coverage-eligible employees cannot refuse to cover identified children. You should not file copies of dependent notices in the employee's file. Rather, file these notices separately. Do not share information on a child or custodial parent with the employee. This includes names, addresses, social security numbers, and other contact information. For more information on National Medical Support Notices, check out NMSN Training Resource and Insurance Benefits Training at peba.sc.gov/insurance-training. Here are a few tips about the initial COBRA notice. PEBA recommends mailing all initial notices. You should keep complete copies of the entire COBRA notice in the employee's file, but a paper copy is not required. You can simply save an electronic copy. It is important to note national medical support notices are to be filed separately. Do not file dependent notices in the employee's file. Now, we will review the second required COBRA notice. You send this notice following qualifying events. This presentation is an overview. It is not meant to be a comprehensive description of the benefits offered by the South Carolina Public Employee Benefit Authority. The plan of benefits documents, certificates of coverages, and benefits contracts contain complete descriptions of the benefits offered by or through PEBA. Their terms and conditions govern these benefits. For more information on each benefit, see the Benefits Administrator Manual, as well as the Member-Facing Insurance Benefits Guide. This notice advises individuals of their rights and responsibilities for continuing coverage under COBRA after a qualifying event. It also explains the procedures for electing coverage. Be sure to include the COBRA notice of election and current COBRA premiums with this notice. Several events make qualified beneficiaries eligible for COBRA coverage. Events that might create eligibility for up to 18 months of COBRA coverage include when an employee terminates employment, the employee transfers to another employer that participates in PEBA insurance, or when the employee retires. An employee who loses coverage because of a reduction of working hours, in cases where the employee is not in a stability period or is no longer eligible at the end of the initial or standard stability period, is also a qualifying event. If employment ends due to gross misconduct, seek advice from your agency's legal counsel before offering COBRA. If an employee is in an unpaid leave status, and not in a stability period or on protected leave, a reduction of hours will make the employee ineligible for insurance benefits. Employers should end coverage in this case. You must also offer the employee 18-month COBRA continuation coverage. Now, let's discuss how COBRA coverage can be extended for up to 36 months. If the qualified beneficiaries experience a second qualifying event, they may qualify for an additional 18-month extension, for a total of 36 months. These events include death of covered employee, divorce or legal separation, a child losing eligibility for dependent coverage, or death of the employee or retiree. Employees and their dependents who lose eligibility because of military leave are in this category as well. If a qualifying event occurs for a covered dependent, the subscriber must report the event on the later of 2 dates to be eligible for COBRA. The dates are within 60 days of the date of the qualifying event, or the date coverage would have been lost because of the event. The qualified beneficiary must report the event to the COBRA administrator on the notice of COBRA qualifying event. If a qualifying event is not reported within 60 days, do not offer COBRA coverage or the extension of COBRA coverage. When an employee is on military leave, they can continue or end their PEBA coverage. If they choose to continue coverage while on military leave, the benefits administrator does not need to notify PEBA. The benefits administrator must obtain written permission from the employee to continue coverage. The employer also bills the employee for their share of premiums while the employee is on leave. You should give the employee "Your insurance benefits when your hours are reduced" notice. It explains the rights of employees on military leave. If the employee wants to cancel their coverage, the benefits administrator should complete the active termination form and indicate military leave. Attach a copy of the military orders and mail them to PEBA. You should offer the employee 36 months of COBRA. For 18-month notices, you must send the notice to the employee and qualified beneficiaries within 14 days of when you are made aware of the qualifying event. Qualified beneficiaries have 60 days from the later of 2 dates to enroll in COBRA. These are either the date they lose coverage from a qualifying event, or 60 days from the date of the COBRA notice. The requirements for the 36-month notice are the same as the 18-month notice. It must be sent within 14 days of the report of the qualifying event. Qualified beneficiaries have 60 days from the date they lose coverage due to a qualifying event or from the date of the COBRA notification, whichever is later. If you need help determining whether to offer COBRA, use the COBRA ineligibility form for dependents. If you determine the subscriber reported the event within the 60-day notification period, offer COBRA. Otherwise, do not offer COBRA. Retain the completed COBRA ineligibility form for dependents in the employee's file. Here is an example of a dependent who is not eligible for COBRA. An employee drops their spouse from all coverage during the 2025 open enrollment period. The spouse reports on February 20, 2026 that they and the employee divorced on November 19, 2025 and they would like COBRA coverage. Using the COBRA ineligibility form for dependents, determine when coverage would have been lost if the employee or spouse notified you of the divorce within 60 days. Then, determine whether the spouse is eligible for COBRA coverage. In this example, the spouse reported the event more than 60 days after the date of the qualifying event, which was the date of the divorce. Do not offer COBRA coverage for the ineligible dependent. You should also retain the completed COBRA ineligibility form for dependents in the employee's file. Note, if a dependent is dropped from coverage during open enrollment, COBRA coverage is not offered. PEBA recommends mailing all COBRA notices. You must retain complete copies of these notices in the employee's file and can retain electronic copies. For national medical support notices, be sure to file dependent notices separately. Do not file dependent notices in the employee's file. Some events allow qualified beneficiaries to extend COBRA coverage beyond 18 months after the employee's termination of employment or reduction in hours. We'll look at those now. This presentation is an overview. It is not meant to be a comprehensive description of the benefits offered by the South Carolina Public Employee Benefit Authority. The plan of benefits documents, certificates of coverages, and benefits contracts contain complete descriptions of the benefits offered by or through PEBA. Their terms and conditions govern these benefits. For more information on each benefit, see the Benefits Administrator Manual, as well as the Member-Facing Insurance Benefits Guide. COBRA allows extended coverage protection for qualified beneficiaries who experience second qualifying events within the 18-month continuation period. These types of events include a qualified beneficiary's approval for Social Security disability benefits. They also include the death of the former employee or a spouse's divorce from the former employee. A child's loss of eligibility for coverage as a dependent can also extend COBRA. To extend COBRA coverage, the second qualifying event must occur within the 18 or 29-month coverage period. It must also be reported within 60 days of the date of the second qualifying event. A qualified beneficiary must report the event to their COBRA administrator on the notice to extend COBRA continuation coverage. These events never extend COBRA coverage beyond 36 months from the original COBRA eligibility date. When Social Security approves disability benefits for a qualified beneficiary, the original 18-month COBRA period may be extended to 29 months. The Social Security disability approval must happen within the initial 18-month COBRA period, or the subscriber must be disabled at either the time of the qualifying event, or during the first 60 days of COBRA coverage. There are some additional requirements for an 18-month period to be extended to 29 months. The qualified beneficiary must report the disability approval to PEBA within 60 days of the latest of several dates. These include the date of Social Security's notification letter. It can also be the date on which they are informed of their responsibility to inform PEBA of the disability determination. Finally, it can be the date on which they lost coverage, or would have lost coverage because the qualifying event is later than those dates. Here's an example of an employee with a second qualifying event. The employee first leaves employment on April 30, 2026. The employee and their spouse are both qualified beneficiaries and enroll in 18-month COBRA coverage. On June 9, 2026, the couple has a child. Within 31 days of birth, they may add the newborn to COBRA coverage. The Social Security Administration determines the child has been disabled since birth. This creates the second qualifying event. Coverage is now extended to 29 months from the original COBRA effective date for all qualified beneficiaries. As noted, there are several events that can extend COBRA coverage to 36 months. A second qualifying event might occur during the 18 or 29-month period of coverage, and coverage could be extended to 36 months. These include death of the former employee, divorce from the former employee, and a child's loss of eligibility for coverage. Here's an example of a second qualifying event. An employee leaves employment on July 31, 2026, and enrolls themselves and their dependent child in 18-month COBRA coverage. Both the employee and their child are qualified beneficiaries. The child turns age 26 and is no longer an eligible dependent on the former employee's COBRA coverage. The child is now eligible to continue coverage for up to 36 months from the original 18-month COBRA effective date. The Medicare entitlement rule limits the amount of time a covered dependent is eligible for COBRA coverage. If a covered employee became Medicare eligible within 18 months before their employment ended or their hours were reduced, the maximum period of COBRA coverage for their covered dependents is 36 months after the covered employee became eligible for Medicare. As a reminder, no COBRA coverage is extended beyond 36 months. Here's an example of how the Medicare entitlement rule works. An employee is enrolled in the State Health Plan Standard Plan and covers their spouse. The employee leaves employment on July 1, 2027. The employee and their spouse become eligible for COBRA beginning July 1, 2027. 18 months prior to the employee's initial COBRA qualifying event would be January 1, 2026. The employee became eligible for Medicare on January 1, 2027, which falls within this 18-month period. Because the employee was eligible for Medicare within 18 months before leaving employment, their spouse is eligible for up to 36 months of COBRA coverage from the date they became eligible for Medicare. The employee is not eligible for those additional months of coverage, and their COBRA coverage ends in 18 months, on January 1, 2029. The spouse's eligibility for COBRA coverage may continue until 36 months from the employee's Medicare effective date, ending January 1, 2030. Let's talk about COBRA enrollment and premiums. This presentation is an overview. It is not meant to be a comprehensive description of the benefits offered by the South Carolina Public Employee Benefit Authority. The plan of benefits documents, certificates of coverages, and benefits contracts contain complete descriptions of the benefits offered by or through PEBA. Their terms and conditions govern these benefits. For more information on each benefit, see the Benefits Administrator Manual, as well as the Member-Facing Insurance Benefits Guide. PEBA is the COBRA administrator for subscribers of state agencies, public higher education institutions, public school districts, and charter schools that participate in both insurance and retirement. Optional employers and charter schools that participate in insurance only are responsible for the administration of COBRA benefits for their subscribers. This responsibility includes signing the COBRA Notice of Election form. PEBA will activate coverage upon receipt of the signed form. The benefits administrator is also responsible for collecting premiums and remitting payment to PEBA with COBRA Bill HRA 610 each month. There is a $3 administrative fee for COBRA subscribers, and optional employers cannot charge this fee to subscribers. A qualified beneficiary has 45 days from the COBRA election date to make the initial premium payment. The initial payment must include premiums back to the date COBRA coverage began. Coverage will not be activated until the premium is received for subscribers for whom PEBA is the benefits administrator. For optional employers, coverage is activated when the signed NOE is submitted to PEBA. Note, because of the 60-day rule, if notices are not sent in a timely manner, this can cause a subscriber to have potentially high retroactive premiums. After the initial payment, monthly payments are due by the 10th of each month. There is a 30-day grace period from the due date of the unpaid premium. Let's look at terminating COBRA coverage. This presentation is an overview. It is not meant to be a comprehensive description of the benefits offered by the South Carolina Public Employee Benefit Authority. The plan of benefits documents, certificates of coverages, and benefits contracts contain complete descriptions of the benefits offered by or through PEBA. Their terms and conditions govern these benefits. For more information on each benefit, see the Benefits Administrator Manual, as well as the Member-Facing Insurance Benefits Guide. In most cases, the Notice to Terminate COBRA Continuation Coverage form is used to end COBRA coverage. This includes when the qualified beneficiary gains other coverage, including Medicare, or loses eligibility for Social Security disability benefits. It's also used when the qualified beneficiary voluntarily ends coverage. If a qualified beneficiary decides to terminate their COBRA coverage early, they generally will not be able to get a marketplace plan outside of open enrollment. Also, if they decide to end coverage after the election period, they cannot change their mind and get COBRA coverage at a later date. PEBA mails the third COBRA notice by first-class mail to the last known address and informs qualified beneficiaries of when coverage will end. Qualified beneficiaries can contact PEBA customer service to request a copy of the certificate of creditable coverage. Reasons to end COBRA coverage include gaining other group health coverage, including Medicare, loss of eligibility for Social Security disability benefits, and voluntary termination of COBRA. A qualified beneficiary must submit notice to terminate COBRA continuation coverage to their COBRA administrator. Do not use the Notice to Terminate COBRA continuation coverage when a subscriber fails to pay premiums. Instead, submit a COBRA Notice of Election. Submit the NOE as soon as the 60-day grace period has ended to avoid additional bills from PEBA. This form does not require the subscriber's signature. Just be sure to mark termination due to non-payment of premiums on the COBRA notice of election.